I don't know about you, but lately I have been craving books that take me back to a simpler time. And as it is middle grade March this month, I thought I would share with you some very nostalgic middle grade reads that I highly recommend. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome back to my reading life. And today is all about nostalgic middle grade books. I love middle grade books and there is such a wide breadth of the types of books you can read that are for middle grade aged readers. And a good middle grade book, I think, can be read by anyone of any age, even though those books are generally geared for children between the ages of about 9 and 12 years old. And as such, there is a little bit more gentleness to them. You can always count on the fact that the resolution is going to tie itself up in a very satisfying way. We're not going to be left with any kind of dark tones at the end of the book, even if the book itself deals with difficult subjects. And there are lots of middle grade books out there right now that do deal with some very difficult and challenging subject matters. And to help children through those things or to help give them understanding of what others might be going through. And I think that's wonderful. But I have found myself over the past couple of years shifting a little bit away from those types of books. Not that I don't read them on occasion, because I do, but I have just been leaning more into middle grade novels that harken back to a simpler time, or a seemingly simpler time, just to childhoods gone by where kids had a lot of freedoms they don't really have anymore. And I just love that. It takes me back to my own childhood when we could play outside all day during the summertime, and the only parameters we have were that we needed to be home by the time the street lights came on. And that was it. Our parents didn't know where we were or what we were up to, and we were really just playing with our friends and riding bikes and, playing games and all that good stuff that kids should be doing. And because I find myself drawn to those types of stories, I thought maybe some of you are also feeling drawn to those types of stories as well. And so today I'm here to share 10 middle grade books that are going to take us back in time a little bit. Even if some of them were written in modern days, they just harken back to a different time. Let us dive into all of my nostalgic middle grade recommendations. My first recommendation is actually a series of books. So you're technically getting more than 10 books recommended to you in this video, but I couldn't leave any of these out. And I am not sure if I read every single book in this series, but I did read every book in the series that my library had when I was growing up. And that is the Shoes books by Noel Streatfeild. And I have here Ballet Shoes, and then Dancing Shoes, and I have this very fun vintage edition of Movie Shoes. There's also Skating Shoes. I am not sure how many other shoes books there are. I should look. Oh, we have Circus Shoes, Theater Shoes, Party Shoes. I'm not sure if there's any more shoes books than that, but there's quite a few. So you can really have your choice. Pick a title of shoes, a type of shoes that sounds good to you, and dive on in. I, of course, loved ballet shoes growing up. I loved dancing shoes. Theater shoes was another favorite of mine. I know I didn't read Circus Shoes, and I don't think I read Party Shoes. I believe I read Skating Shoes. But it is probably time for me to reread all the shoes books. I have read Ballet Shoes in recent years, loved it again. I think Noel Streatfeild does a really great job of portraying children in her books and evoking the time in which books were written. Ballet Shoes, I think, came out in the 30s. And I think most of the shoes books, were written over the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So they definitely evoke a bygone era, and they're just such wonderful books, and they're especially wonderful for young girls, I think. because she features such unique young girl characters, and I think it is fantastic to see sort of their pluckiness, their inventiveness, their ingenuity, their talents, and to really celebrate that. And I just think you can't go wrong with any of the Shoes books. Next up is a book that I only recently read, and I have to thank Beth from Small Home Comforts for bringing this book to my attention. It was the first book in her very first Small Home Comforts book box, and that is Understood Betsy by Dorothy Canfield Fisher. I didn't even know about this book, but I wish I had, because I would have loved Betsy when I was a young girl. She's exactly the type of character, and this is exactly the type of story I was drawn to. At the start of this, we have Betsy. She lives with her aunts or great aunts in the city, and she is very sheltered. They don't let Betsy do really anything for herself. And then one of the aunts becomes ill and they aren't able to care for Betsy, so they are going to send her off to live with her cousins, the Putneys, in the countryside of Vermont. And the Putneys are looked down upon by the aunts, but once Betsy arrives there at their farm, Betsy's life just opens up and expands in the most wonderful ways, and she really is finally allowed to be a kid and do all those child things that you do. And yes, she gets herself into some scrapes. None of it is ever too serious, and she is just given so much love and freedom and the ability to blossom, and watching her do so in this book is just so wonderfully heartwarming. I highly recommend this if you've never read it, or if you read it as a child and you have yet to come back to it. I definitely think you should give this a reread. It is wonderful. Next up is a book that we read last year for the Cozy Reader Book Club, and it was so much fun. And if you want a book where kids are just allowed to be completely free of adult supervision and have adventures, then this is the book to read, and that is Swallows and Amazons by Arthur Ransom. Now, this is the start of a series, so if you enjoy Swallows and Amazons, you can move on to the rest of the series. I definitely will be reading more because I very much enjoyed this. We're following the Walker kids, and they are staying for the summer. I think they are in the Lake District in England, and they have rented a house on the edge of one of the lakes, and they have a boat, and the mother basically gives the older three kids basically free reign, and they go and they camp out on this island. And in the course of this, they run into two sisters, Nancy and Peggy Blackett, and the two families kind of are pitted against each other. The Walkers are the Swallows, Nancy and Peggy are the Amazons, and at first they are sort of fighting over this island, and it's just such a wonderful example of kids being kids, and it was so much fun. I actually think this makes for a wonderful summertime read. It's very evocative of childhood summers gone by, so if that is something that piques your interest, then definitely read Swallows and Amazons. Next up is a book that was written in the 1980s but is set in the 1940s, and actually gives kids an idea of what it might be like to be an immigrant in the United States and to come here and not speak any English and have to acclimate to a completely different culture. And I think it does it in a very lovely and gentle way, and that is In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson by Bet Bao Lord. And in this, we follow Shirley Temple Wong, and she and her family emigrate from China to the US in 1947, I believe. And it is very challenging for her to come in, to go to school and not speak any English, and try to fit in and make friends and learn English. And she's really struggling at first. And then she is introduced to baseball. And this is the year that Jackie Robinson was the star of the Brooklyn Dodgers. And Shirley gets very enamored of Jackie, and you sort of follow along with her story as she settles into life in America. And also there is this interwoven story about Jackie Robinson and the Dodgers. And I think it's a great book that is an example of what it feels like to be an outsider and how you can find your place in the world. And this is just so fun and lovely. And again, another one that would make a great summertime read, lots of baseball, and it is just a delight. I loved Shirley Temple Wong. She is a wonderful character. But if you're looking for a book that's going to take you back in time to right after World War II in the United States and what life was like then definitely give this one a read. Next up, I have another book that I have to thank Beth from Small Home Comforts for putting on my radar because this was in this past summer's Small Home Comforts book box, and I absolutely adored it. And I will be reading the rest of the books in this series. In fact, I have book 2 on my pile of possibilities for March, but the book I'm recommending today is The Moffats by Eleanor Estes. If you want a book just about family and sibling relationships, and again, another book of just kids being kids, each chapter feels a bit like kind of a vignette where, you know, the kids are doing some activity or getting into some mischief or having an experience together. And the overarching kind of plot line in this is they're worried about their house that they're renting being sold. And so you kind of have that thread throughout the story, but really we're just following the Moffats. We have Sylvie, Joey, Jamie, and Rufus, and you get to meet them all and follow along with them and their sibling relationships. And this was just, again, another truly nostalgic, harkening back to a different type of childhood book. And I'm so excited. I have The Middle Moffat on my pile of possibilities for March, and I'm really hoping to get to it because I enjoyed this one so very much and I highly recommend it. And next up is another book that really kind of focuses on family and sibling relationships and the friendships amongst children. And this is by the author of one of my favorite childhood books. And the book I'm recommending is The Children of Noisy Village by Astrid Lindgren. I loved the Pippi Longstocking books when I was growing up, and I didn't know about this book, but I have read it in the past few years, and it is so lovely. So we have a bit of family and also kind of found family where the children in Noisy Village all kind of come together and they seem almost like siblings or cousins to one another. And we follow along with the children really over the course of, I think, most of a year. There are some wonderful scenes in here set at Christmas time. And so maybe reading this book in November or early December, kind of in that lead up to Christmas time, might be the perfect time for this book. But really, it's wonderful anytime. Again, I'm just going to keep saying it's nostalgic. It harkens back. It's a simpler time. It absolutely is. And if you've enjoyed Astrid Lindgren's writing in her other books, then definitely give The Children of Noisy Village a read. Next up, I'm going to share a book that is one of my personal childhood favorites. I have reread it recently, and it was just as marvelous as it was when I read it as a child. And that book is Up a Road Slowly by Irene Hunt. I just have all the warm and fuzzy feelings for this book because I loved it so much when I read it. I read my mom's childhood copy, which is disintegrating. It doesn't have a back cover anymore. It's completely falling apart, but I still have it because it's so special to me. But I had to get myself a different copy to actually read from. This is a true coming of age story. We are following Julie, who is sent to live with her aunt after the death of her mother. Her father and her older siblings stay at the home, but Julie is sent not far away from them, just a little ways away, but still she sees them pretty regularly, and we follow along with Julie as she grows up. We watch her sister get married and her feelings about that. There is, of course, a little bit of tragedy in this, but it is dealt with in such a lovely way, and we watch Julie fall in love for the first time. And this is actually, I think, a middle grade book that's right kind of on the cusp of that middle grade to almost young adult. I think I read this when I was more around like 13 or 14. So I think even kids of that age would enjoy this one, but it is just, again, it's so nostalgic, and I need a different word. Someone give me another word for nostalgic. But it's just fabulous. There's nothing else I can say about it except that I just want to gush about Up a Road Slowly. If you've read this, please let me know if you loved it as much as I do. But I don't find that I've heard that many people who have read this one. I know Irene Hunt's book Across 5 Aprils is probably her most famous book, but I think Up a Road Slowly is just, it's just perfection. Next up is a book that I read for the first time last year and just adored it. It was one of my favorite books of 2025, and I need to continue on with this series as well because so many of you said how wonderful it continues to be, and I loved this book so much, and that is Sarah, Plain and Tall by Patricia McLaughlin. And this book, it's so very slim, but it just has so much heart in it. In this, we follow Sarah, who answers an ad that this father has put out. His wife died right after childbirth, and he puts out an ad looking for a wife, and she responds. So she moves from Maine to the Prairie, and we follow along as she enters into this family and sort of becomes a part of it, and what Sarah is like. She is plain and tall, but she is so just wonderful and amazing, and I love her, and I love this book. And if you enjoy Little House on the Prairie or other books set during that time period and about prairie life, then definitely read Sarah, Plain and Tall. It is just so very good. And my final book that I'm going to recommend in this video for you all is one that is about one of my favorite topics for a book, and that is books about teachers or schools or schoolhouses or, you know, life in a school, what have you. Give me a book set in a school about a teacher and I'm there. And this one is so wonderful. And that is The Year of Miss Agnes by Kirkpatrick Hill. And in this, we are following a group of kids in a school in remote Alaska, and they have a really hard time keeping a school teacher there. The school teachers tend to get very frustrated. Obviously, the weather is problematic. It's so remote and isolated, and so the teachers don't stick around. And then Miss Agnes comes. And Miss Agnes is so different from all of the other teachers they've had before. And we watch as these students fall in love with their new teacher. And is she going to stay? Is she going to leave? You'll have to read and find out. But I also need to read the second book after this one, which is Miss Agnes and the Ginger Tom, which I have on my shelf because I just loved The Year of Miss Agnes so much. It is such a lovely book. I love this edition. It's just gorgeous. Yes, if you like books about teachers or schools, then definitely read The Year of Miss Agnes. Again, it's another very slim read, but it is lovely, it's heartwarming, and it, again, definitely has that nostalgic feel. And it's also just kind of fun to read about Alaska, which is, I think, a place not many of us know that much about. If I have anyone here who is from Alaska, hello. But that was just kind of an added bonus to this book. Highly recommend it. Such a wonderful, wonderful read. And that will do it for my 10 nostalgic middle grade books that I recommend if you want to read about simpler times. I would love to chat with you down in the comments. Have you read any of these? Did you love them? Are you adding any of these to your own TBRs, pile of possibilities, want to read lists? And what are some of your favorite nostalgic middle grade reads? Let us share all of that down in the comments below. And if you're here but you don't have anything that you would like to add, but you would like to let me know that you were here because comments really do help my channel, let's leave something school related because of The Year of Miss Agnes. So a schoolhouse, a bell, a pencil, paper, anything school related, leave those emojis. I love seeing them and knowing that you were here. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button, and also now the hype button on the YouTube mobile app. You sometimes have to swipe to the left away from the like button in order to find that hype button, but it does help my channel and I greatly appreciate it. And if you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and join my cozy bookish community. Thank you all so much for all of the lovely comments you left on my last video. I so appreciate your support and your being here and taking time out of your day to spend it with me. And as always, I'll be back with another video very soon. And until then, I wish you a good book and a warm cuppa. Bye. It is not time yet. There's a cat who thinks it's time for her to eat, and it is not. Huh. Do you want to say hi to the internet? Come here. I'm going to say hi to YouTube. Look, say hi to the book people. Look, there you are. There's my sweet girl. See, she doesn't like to be held. That's Ivy, if you're new here.